This is happened to be a 4953 motor. A customer in Texas is going to put it in a 49 Chevy half-ton panel truck.
Oh.
He's restoring it. And while he's restoring his truck, he almost has it done. Then I'm going to build him this motor, and then he wants the Mercury crank in it, so it's 255 cubic inches.
Okay.
And a little overbore. And other than that, basically a stock motor. We turned the crankshaft and polished it and done some different things on it. And we are going to, later on, we'll get some of that. We're going to put a T5 5-speed on it with adapters and stuff, and we'll have that done next week or something.
Okay.
In building the motor then, that's why we put the truck mounts on it. And we could buy these new water pumps that with the motor mounts on them. Normally a 49 to 53 car does not have these motor mounts on it.
Oh.
And these are early mounts, so they make a water pump for the wide belt there when there are two pulleys, and then this pump is extended so the belt don't hit the distributor.
Okay.
So this is all lined up, especially on this motor, because one water pump's ahead of the other one. So now we got a long water pump and a short water pump. And all the belts will line up, and still miss the distributor. So we got an electronic distributor we put in this motor, and since we were doing machine work on it and stuff, that we would cut the deck a little bit on top of the thing, and so that moves it down. Of course, this is a 49 to 53 motor. Who knows how many times it's been rebuilt?
Right.
Maybe it had the deck cut a couple more times. No, it's only 80 years old or so.
Yeah.
So we milled it, we cut it again to make sure it's all flat. So once we put this distributor in, the distributor kind of bottomed out.
Oh.
Because all this stuff is closer to the crankshaft.
Right.
And we still have our same measurements here with this front cover and distributor mount and stuff. So we added a little washer underneath here, back under there.
Yeah.
To make up the space between what we cut off the head and what we cut off the dock. So we don't want to squeeze this distributor down in this mechanism here, because that would bottom out and ruin it. So we want to stop the distributor here. So that little mount in there is a same mount, little clamp for 302 Ford.
Really? Okay.
And we grind a little edge on the back side of it, and it works perfect to tighten the distributor. The distributor is tightened here, not down in here. Okay. It's not pushed down in there or anything like that.
Okay, so it just sits in there.
Sits in there, loose, So something else, And they say we put on this later model manifold, it should have a draft tube here and an oil filter. And also it has a fuel pump in the back.
Right.
So I've made this little bracket here, and I'm going to put a chrome cap on here. So he'll put oil in it from now on there.
Okay.
We put a plug in here, and then I think this is an 1.5-inch plug. We put a PVC valve, and that's a normal grommet for PVC, for a Chevrolet or something. Okay. Grommet fits in there, and we put it on. So now we got a PVC in the pump.
Excellent.
So it cleans that whole thing up. You don't have a draft tube, and it's been more late model stuff now. So yeah.
Right. And obviously he's going to an electric fuel pump, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
So you don't need
wired up, because the electric fuel pump to keep up with this carburetor.
Right.
The other fuel pump would not keep up with it.
Okay, now is this the same carburetor that the customer is going to use?
Yes.
Okay.
This happens to be one of my carburetors I've used on some of our startup motors, so it's a brand new carburetor, and we've adjusted it and stuff. And so
what about the starter and the
starter? There's a gear reduction starter on it, and this ignition is a Stromberg, and this customer sent me that with the coil. Okay. And it is transistor, so it has a couple wires here. And even though we run transistor, we'll still run our hot wire through a resistor on the thing here.
I see it, right.
Cut 12 volt down to maybe 8.
Okay.
We always do that on transistor ignition.
Okay. What's the reason for that?
Just you don't want to take a chance of burning up, get the ignition too hot. Okay. And the coil too hot. 12 volts are probably a little bit hot.
Is this a 6 volt?
This is a 12 volt.
It is 12 volt. Okay.
It is 12 volt, yeah.
I got you.
You can buy all that conversion strength, man.
Okay.
And this is one of my set of headers that we put on our motors when we start them up all the time, and don't mean anything. I don't know if they were made to fit anything or not, but we got them to fit on this, and it works fine.
Yeah, so I imagine since you're testing engines a lot, you just need to have some of these things around.
We have a lot of set of headers that we put on this engine stand, and we have other engine stands too.
Yeah.
That we run motors on all the time.
Sure.
And here's a pressure regulator. We just put that on there.
Okay.
It's a thing just to keep about 3.5, 4 pounds of pressure.
All right.
You don't have to have 7 or 8 or anything like that. And of course, then we don't believe in putting an oil filter on them. The oil filter has a special fitting in it for original, and the oil filter is not a pressurized filter. It's not. It's a flow filter. So it has a small hole in this brass fitting that will only filter maybe 5% of the oil in it originally.
Wow.
So it's not worth putting a filter on when you're only filtering 5% of the oil.
That's not a whole lot.
No. And it's not a pressurized, so the filter can sets up on here, and it just has a drain that goes from here, just drains in the oil pan.
Okay.
No pressure at all. So sometimes if you'd actually let the thing set for a while, all that oil in that would be a quart of oil or so, would drain the pan.
Okay.
Next time you started, it would have to fill that up before you had any oil pressure, or very little.
Okay.
So we don't care to do that. Just change the oil a little bit more often.
And would you use a non-detergent oil in that case?
We're going to use a regular motor oil.
Okay.
We don't like to use in this older motor with the clearances and the valve train and stuff like this, the way it lubricates it. We just run regular 30-weight motor oil.
Okay.
We don't want 10W or no synthetic.
You don't use a multi-viscosity,
no,
just a straight weight?
Not really.
Yeah.
We're in Arizona. We don't need to do that.
Right.
Unless you're back east and you were driving in the wintertime, and you're probably not going to do that anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This would be in a truck or car that he'd just tool around in the summertime and go to car shows and have fun with it. We put a dual belt pulley on the bottom.
Okay, what's the purpose of that?
Because he wants to add air conditioning to it.
Oh, really?
So we're going to have one groove for the fan belt. This here will be for the air conditioning. He can put air conditioning and alternator on here when he gets done with the shop. And he can always do that. Anybody can do that. We just wanted to use the later model block, and this happened to get a customer. For some reason, he sent me the original motor out of the truck, and it was a 1940 motor. I mean, this is a little story, but it's a 221 motor, and I would not overhaul a 221 motor, a 40 motor, and put it in a 59 truck where it should be. This would be about 265 cubic inches, so it should run good.
Yeah. I think I remember you saying with the 49 to 53, you have a bell housing that's easier to adapt?
Yes, absolutely.
So,
and this has a separate bell housing and flywheel, different flywheel. It's a bigger flywheel, so you can put on a 10.5 or 11-inch clutch if you wanted to.
You did a nice job. It even painted up nicely.
Yeah. Customer wanted it blue.
Yeah. Well, you should get your customer maybe to send a picture of this once it's installed.
Maybe it's in the truck. Yeah, I'm sure he will. Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, he'll do that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Is there any gas in there? Oh, you got to prime it. There, it's coming now. It's starting to fill up the filter.
Yeah.
that sounds fantastic, Ed. Wow, that sounds good.